name is Darren Italiani. I'm a 4-3 black belt under Mr. Otero. I've been doing karate for about 30 years. I started the year Grandmaster Durant passed away, actually. I had school for about 8 years, and Devin and Todd Heath are 2 black belts that I've proudly promoted over the years. And I want to talk just for a couple minutes, promise, just a couple minutes, to do some technique, talk about my journey and what I'm doing now and how it's changed my perspective on karate. Several years ago, I was asked to do a self-defense seminar for SafeNet. And for those of you that don't know, SafeNet is a domestic abuse shelter. And I brought a few of my students, and I had a game plan, I had a curriculum of the things I was going to show. But my naivety clicked in. I didn't realize what these women had gone through. And the seminar quickly became a Q&A session where I sat and I listened. I didn't teach any technique. And that really affected me deeply as a martial artist because they were asking me very specific questions about situations where they were actually abused. And what I found interesting was every situation, 100% of the situations where it was in a closed space, they were against a wall, the majority on the ground. And some of the questions they had, I had an answer to the best of my knowledge. But I walked out of there thinking that my knowledge was limited. And I knew that I needed to supplement that. When I had my karate school, I was subleasing my space to a jiu-jitsu school. And, you know, as an instructor, we have a lot of high-level black belts here, it's easy to get comfortable on your perch and to think that you know everything. To think that what you know is, that you feel that you're proficient. And I decided to be vulnerable for a moment, and I tried a jiu-jitsu class. And I took my black belt off, I put a white belt on, and a 130-pound little man put me on my butt, held me there, and then submitted me multiple times. To say that my ego was damaged is an understatement. I felt powerless, but I also had this burning desire. I want to know what he knows, and I think that's what really goes back to Goshin Jutsu, because Goshin Jutsu, as Mr. Johnson said, is the art of self-defense. And really, in my opinion, Goshin Jutsu was one of the first MMAs, because what we did was what Master Durant did, Mr. Readers, they said, we found that these techniques from these different arts are applicable in a street self-defense situation. So these judo throws, these karate techniques, these Japanese jiu-jitsu techniques, these aikijutsu techniques, and they came together to find out what's most effective for defending yourself. And I felt that a piece was missing when that 130-pound man held me on that ground, and I couldn't do anything. So I began training in earnest, and I closed my school, and I specialized in jiu-jitsu. And I've been doing it for about 8 years, and it's really given me a different piece, a much bolder confidence in my karate too. And Sensei Otero challenged me, and we talked a lot on the phone, and he said, how does your jiu-jitsu inform your karate? How does your karate inform your jiu-jitsu? And fortunately, my instructor, who, Mike Rooney, is one of the first black belt promoted in Erie in jiu-jitsu, and he's also a 6th dan in Goshin Jutsu. And the nice thing about that is we both have that karate history, and we often, get nostalgic, and we talk about where our karate came from and how we got to this place in our lives in jiu-jitsu. And also we talk a lot about self-defense and integrating jiu-jitsu into that self-defense. And I thought, what should every Goshin Jutsu or stand-up practitioner know about grappling without having to enroll in a grappling class? What should they know about grappling in terms of self-defense? And I decided that using the guard position and knowing a couple real basic holds from the guard position can be very effective. Devin, please. Guard position, you have the legs wrapped around, feet walked. I'm sure many of you, all of you, even though you've never done any jiu-jitsu before, know this position. And when I went to safe net, a lot of the women were here, obviously, legs here. And what Mike and I talked about was using the guard as not just a defensive position, but a place where I can use my Goshin Jutsu. So one of the things in jiu-jitsu that we talk about is space. Right now there's a lot of space between myself and Devin, which allows him to strike me, which is not good. So we want to eliminate that space. So what I'm going to have all of you do, using hopefully this mat and the mat in the ring here, is I'm going to have you partner up with someone in a minute to start with. We're going to do 2 techniques today, and we're going to also kind of get comfortable in this position. And what I want you to do first is, we're going to grab the tricep. Maybe if you guys can get on this side for me. Everybody come on over this side just for a second. And turn it around, please. If we get to this position, for research I did, 7 out of 10 street fights end up on the ground. So there's so many variables when we're fighting. And I'm sorry, I don't care how good you are at stand-up. Sometimes the fight's going to go to the ground. And when we're here, using this position to hold your opponent, I'm going to hold the tricep here, put my foot on his hip, and I'm going to come right here. Now, Devin's going to try to struggle around a little bit. And right now, this is just kind of holding him down. Okay, you're going to try to get out. You can lock your legs up. Now, if Devin tries to throw punches at me, I can also use my knee here. Right? It's hard for him to throw, so I'm controlling his arm. I'm also controlling the distance here, using head control. I don't want to stay here, though. Like, what's the point of being here? Okay, I can stop him from punching for now, but what are we going to do from here? And we're going to do one sweep from here, depending on the direction that he's coming at you. But sometimes he's going to push into me. Sometimes he's going to posture up to throw a punch. We're going to do a sweep from each situation. So what I want you to do first is just to get with a partner. You're going to grab behind the tricep, just like this. You're going to get head control. Hold him easily. Don't let him get that space, okay? And use your knee right here. It's really hard for him to kind of come up and punch me if I'm using my knee, my leg. And of course, as we get more efficient in our jiu-jitsu, we have submissions from here as well. But just for now, just get comfortable holding him down, grabbing behind the tricep here, holding him in. Everybody okay with that? Is everybody comfortable trying that? I like that noise that I make down. That's why I chose it. If we could do that, and then briefly, then we'll come back with a good technique. Stop your activity in a second. I want to show you one thing. I noticed, if you could just stay where you are, a lot of times I saw a couple people grabbing behind the neck. I think that's not a good idea because, Devin, I want you to posture up as hard as you can. You see how easy it is for him to posture up? I want you to grab the crown and pull down. Now try to posture up. It's not happening. Your strength is here, but here he has. It's much easier for him to posture up. Okay? So work on that. All right. Crown the head. Keep working the side right here. Control the tricep is key too. Nothing. Switch with your partners if you haven't already.
That's a good pull.
I am.
Nice. It's a left, right?
Yeah.
That's base of the neck.
So what was that?
Yeah, we gotta try that. Thanks for
Right?
Okay, Goshin Jutsu. I guess this is a Goshin Jutsu seminar, right? So where does this come in, of course? There's a lot of Goshin Jutsu techniques we, of course, can use from the guard.
Here, and he's trying to come up. My palm heels, right? We have our Ippon Kensukis, our Nugate strikes, right? Oyubi, right? We have a lot of techniques we can use at close striking. We have our short hook punch here. There's a lot of strikes we can do as we're holding them here. The other thing I want you guys to do now is to get rid of that space. I'm going to get one underhook, and I'm going to go over around the neck like this, and I'm going to get a little grip here and hold him right here like this. Devin, go ahead and try to punch me. No. Yep. Go ahead. So what I want you guys to try now, get back into your guard. You're going to go under, over, grip, pull in. Notice his head is next to mine. I want my ear up next to his ear here. And I want you to be very firm as no space can be here. So I'm here. Go ahead and try to punch me straight and you get up. Now from here we're going to do our first technique, which is a little sweep. So all I'm going to do is I have this. I'm just going to let my legs fall to my hip here. I'm here. I'm going to let this come down. Let this come up. Right to here. Now I'm mounted. Now I have all kinds of good stuff going on here, right? There's all kinds of technique from there. Not even jiu-jitsu related, but let's go back to our Goshin techniques. Palm heel, right? Ippon Kensuke, all kinds of techniques that we can use from here to subdue. I notice in a lot of our Goshin Jutsu self-defense, we'll do pursuit punch. We'll do a lot of strike. Here, we'll do a throw, aside, and then we'll finish here. So it ends up going to the ground, but after we've dismantled them from the standing position. But we all know that there's some variables when we're fighting that someone on the street is just going to come in here and just take it to the ground as soon as they can. And I'm sorry, but my cross body block is not going to be as effective in that situation. We have to be ready for that. So let's partner up. I'll demonstrate one more time real quick. Get back in your guard. You're going to go under, over, grip, pull them in, head to head. The side that the arm is up, that's the side you're going to go, okay? So I'm here, because if I go this way, he can post his arm, right? I'm not strong there. Here, this arm's up. I'm going to lift with my elbow. Here, I'm going to push right against his leg as I lift. Here, just like this. Everybody good? All right, get a shot.
Just scissor swing, right?
It's a variation of the scissor swing.
Just sit here, open your guys.
You should attack Joe right now. He needs his shirt.
Yes. You got very well tight, right?
You felt like you're off your base.
look at you. Over here. Turn on your side.
Everybody bring it back for a second. A couple of details, if I may. When I went to the seminar, we worked on this. He called this the big guy sweep. Because this is someone asked me, hey, Darren, is this a scissor sweep? I'm like, yes, it's a variation of the scissor sweep. What he was referring to, the scissor sweep that most jiu-jitsu practitioners are used to from the guard is here where I'm getting a gi grip or a no gi, I'm going around the neck. And what they're doing is they're putting the knee here. And then they're shooting here to mount. That's the traditional scissor sweep. But from a self-defense perspective, and if the guy is really big, much bigger than you. Now, jiu-jitsu, as you know, you're using leverage against an often bigger opponent. If you go to the Wikipedia and you search jiu-jitsu, it says using a leverage against a larger opponent. So from here, because my weight is now connected to Devin's weight, we become one. And that's why this sweep works, because we are one unit. Instead of I'm trying to move a weight, we are the weight, and I'm becoming like a ball. And instead of bringing my knee in, this is sweeping, and this is just coming over. I'm going to take this foot and put it over here. It's kind of like that exercise you guys do in warm-ups, excuse me, where you guys have your hands out, you come over and you do this, right? It's very similar to that. That movement with that leg is part of what's called a flower sweep, but it's neither here nor there. But just those couple details will help you guys with that. You guys, could we do one more technique? Is that okay?
Yes.
One more. So, a lot of times when your opponent's in the guard, he's going to do one of two things. He's going to drive into you, which is where this comes in, right? If he wants to come into me, okay, then I'll hold him here. Or a lot of times, a majority of the time, he's going to try to posture up. Why does he want to go that way?
He wants to strike.
He wants to hit me, right? He wants to hit me. And right here, he absolutely can. I can't reach him, you know? But the nice thing about the guard is you can be mobile in your guard. So if he's posturing up, okay, I'm just pulling my knees in. I'm just pulling my knees to my chest. When he postures up like that, his hips are up, his center is up. And you guys are all karate practitioners to some degree. You know about the center. His center's up, he can be easily taken off balance. So he comes up to punch. Okay, pull him in. Okay, now I got stuff going on here. I've got tools here. But what we're going to do when he postures up, do you remember this first position I had you guys working on? When we were here, we were holding on this, and I was holding his head down. Remember that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bait him. I want to hold him in like this, and he's going to want to what? He's going to want to go that way. Okay, well, he wants to go that way. Oh, we're going to go with it. Now, you all right? I'll break this down a little slower. Again, I'm holding him. He wants to posture up and go away from me. I want his center to come up. So I've got his tricep already right here. He comes up. I'm going to reach over his shoulder. Feet are going to come down, yeah? Hip out. Hand comes in. Postures up. If I want to grab the belt, I can grab the belt, but I'm on the back's fine. I don't want to turn like this. He's just going to push me, right? And now I'm in trouble. I want to take my hip and use it as a weapon. I want to strike him with my hip. I want to come in and hit him. See how he's already going over? And I'm using this. I don't want this out here too far. I want it here, here. I'm going to cut the tricep. Here. Now, Goshin Jutsu all day, every day. One more time. Go to that first position. Here, grabbing the tricep, holding the crown of the head if possible. He's going to try to posture back. Try to go with him. As he goes back, you come up with him. Reach over. Here. I'm going to push off of this, drive my right hip. The direction I'm going, that opposite hip goes into him. I'm going to hit him with it. I want you to hit your partner with it so it drives them up off the ground. Just here. And then all you're gonna do, cut the tricep. Here. So, question, do you guys wanna try it?
You're not worried about blocking that foot, or do you want to block that
Which
foot?
foot?
The foot on the sleeve side. You want your leg on the outside and back that, or no? Or does it make a difference?
I found it has a
Because he's not
Right.
unable to post because of the momentum, or can he?
I found he's gonna want to post, but because I have this here,
Do that, okay.
this is tucked. Even if it doesn't even have to be over, but tucked under. For your partner's sake, you don't want to hurt their ankles, so I keep this tucked here. Thank you for asking for that detail. Here, and I want to push this through as I come up here, and then this is gonna drive as this comes up.
Up and over. Okay.
Plus, at that moment, he's not thinking about him doing a move on him. He's thinking, I'm able to get up to punch him now. So he's not thinking about posting that foot up.
And this is why it's a timing technique. This is a timing technique. This isn't just going to work from a static positioning. He's not just going to sit there, sitting up and say, okay, then I just go up and sweep him. It's got to be a timing thing. As he's pulling up, you're using his momentum against you. Just like in Aikido, you're redirecting. Well, there's no redirection if your opponent's standing there with his punch out. How can you redirect if he's not moving in a direction? So that's the idea behind it. Go ahead, partner, give it a shot.
I'm gonna try to play it off. Brace yourself. And then with this hand, touch my arm, this arm, and roll across as you push hard.
Spot over there. Hey guys, bring it in for just a minute. We're going to finish up. I don't think I'm going over. Am I going over? Am I good?
Maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay. Just one little detail that my Goshin peeps, of course, everyone can. Oh, where's Devin? Come here. What we're doing, one of the reasons why we post up all the way, I saw a couple of you come into here and just kind of using your hips to drive it over. And you know what? If you can do that, okay. But again, the key to these techniques working is to manipulating your opponent's center. You've got to change his center. And of course, we're working this against an unresisting opponent, right? And but in a real fight, or if you're in a jiu-jitsu match, a lot of times your opponent is going to base really hard. And because his center is going to be down, it's going to be difficult just to turn him like this. The reason I put this all the way up, because when I do hit him with my hip, it's really going to drive his center up. Okay? Because once his center comes up, then I come over. It's much easier, and especially if your opponent's bigger than you. Okay? It's manipulating the center. Now, one other thing I'm going to talk about with jiu-jitsu in terms of my training is, as I've gone through the ranks of jiu-jitsu, you see there's a window, right, you can look into where you say, oh, there's a submission here, or there's a sweep here, or there's a technique here. And when you get to blue belt, that window gets a little smaller, right? Because that time that you have to apply that technique is, you have to be a little quicker, right? If I'm sparring against Mr. Zielinski and I see that he's left an opening, he's a black belt. And I have a small window to apply that technique. A white belt, not so much. I can throw the kick at will and probably score with it. But especially in jiu-jitsu, so the window gets smaller and smaller, purple belt, brown belt, black belt.
until the window is really small, and you have to really train and drill over and over and over. And that's the big thing that I want to say is parallel about jiu-jitsu, karate, because it's all about drilling. Mr. Coons talked about persistence, right? To follow up on that, it's not about who's best in the gym, it's about who's left. And most students don't want to put the time in to drill. They want to come in and they want to do the real fancy stuff. And Karate Sensei was talking about people want to come in and do a flying, spinning crescent kick. Okay, why don't you learn how to do a front kick first and do it like a whole bunch of times and get good at it. My front kick still stinks. I've been doing it for 30 years, but it's getting better, right? If you want to get good at jiu-jitsu, if you want that window to get smaller and get through that window, you've got to work drills, 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 finding a partner. Everybody wants to come in and just roll around, go heavy, and they want to learn how to do berimbolo and all these leg locks and really complicated techniques that look flashy, but it's all about the basics. It's all about the basics. So some of the things that I've been working with lately is using jiu-jitsu to enter. So for example, if Devin were to come in with a double leg takedown, right? I get jiu-jitsu here, I guess. Wow. So same, single leg, same thing. My Kimura is probably my favorite technique here. It's putting all the styles that I know together, and that's really what Goshin Jutsu is all about. To summarize, it's taking what's most applicable and seeing what works for you. Everybody here has a different style, right? Within your style. Mr. Johnson excels at his kicks. He's an excellent kicker. His roundhouse kick is legendary. Front kick, like he needs me to build him up anymore. But when you spar against Mr. Johnson, he's going to use his kicks, right? So whatever style you're practicing, find out what you're good at, and then drill it, drill it, drill it. The best thing my instructor first told me when I started training grappling was, he said, find out something that you're good at, and then try to hit it from every position. Every position. I said, wow, that really... So I noticed that, man, there's a lot of points of contact to this Kimura here. I mean, I'm grabbing his wrist, I'm touching his elbow, his tricep, and I wasn't tapping guys, but I was able to sweep. They couldn't hit me with this arm. They couldn't do a lot from here. And then eventually I started funneling techniques from this Kimura technique. Eventually I was going into my guard and finding, oh man, there's all kinds of stuff from here. And I can tap him from here, or let's say I do sweep him here, right? And now I have my Kimura here, right here, side control, here. So my A game has become my Kimura game because my sensei told me to drill it, and I drilled it from every position. So now I'm comfortable in every position because I have a weapon in every position. And in karate, we stand, right? It's a fighting art. Well, get comfortable with your karate on the ground. Thanks.